Far were the howls of wolves carried out, while evening ascended, over a field where swarms of fireflies danced with the cosmos. Wide the horizon, an endless abyss wherein all stellar forms roam. Grey caravans of clouds scuttled eastward, cloaking a full moon. Stars shimmered in the new deep like coins buried under a lake bed. Beast and hunter arose on either slope, spear gleaming in the sky. Arctos gazed from above to the insects, winked to her kinsman. But dwelling over the violet tapestry appear heavenous vaults, ancient abodes whose foundations were the dark firmament stones. How such a hall rippled as though it teased just nigh the edge of sight. Nights like this beckon men to abandon the torches around them, braving a dense thicket of crooked arbors amidst animal cries. They look upon when atop the highest past celestial solars, whose fashion neither poet nor smith could attempt in a lifetime. This deep beyond reckoning still hums with the songs of immortals, kings ruling over the world as they scheme a million punishments. Somewhere an old smith stokes the below-blown forge fire in droves, from the bed of coals works a letting did ripe for a shaping. Smoke all about and sparks flying out with his veteran strikes. Each swing against the living metal darkened a once brilliant glow, now but a red flickered edge fading before its natural hue. Thus the coming nights crept to bereft those vestiges of day. Western mountains adorn bloody peaks in stark shadow and blue. Sun limp on the jagged slopes, teeth from a dead giant tore through. Jaw-drooled mighty rivers whose course trickle down the forest gums in serpentine turns as trees in either direction follow flows. Black devotees tracing a path tread by prophesied feet. South a hallowed stream cleft grassy fields, blades flowed as if it breathed. Both water and land bowed to wild wind, wide ripple shaking. Silver shimmers fluttered over the knolls as it toned the forest edge, whose gaudy boughs spire wiry shadows and a restful herd of sheep. Those alabaster flocks were caressed by grass tall about them, like waves onto the shores of a land yet plundered of its wealth. Thick tough barley amidst higher hills serenaded to nymph song. 2. When the moon nods as it does for eons, a buried truth arises from valley folds and sings some secret in faraway dreams. Such bodiless mouths whispering omens are older than all tales, themselves meant to depict the path of neural dunes, ever shifting. Those who can eat stone from callous sands are praised as immortals, their deeds fondly remembered in old songs centuries onward. Muse, what wisdom appeared to the resting, roused from renounced deeds? Eswoe seemed buried in her woolen green cloak, mud on its hem, naught but a moss patch attached to the north-face bark of a yew tree. Tending a herd she'd wander nodding hills, bleats echoing forth, as the whistles from an ivory reed rose up to the endless. Her flute of forged gold, fountain a fair spout, flew fluttering songs. Wind spun a soft thread with her echoes which lulled the wild slopes, tunes butter roasted, notes filling as cattle set before altars. But who would enjoy such decadent food most of the whole hills, close following sheep, their shepherdess playing, or some other breath? Not far apart were the lambs from mother's warmth, shoulder-deep in grass. When the adults grazed down to earth, their little legs would appear then, just as a carver frees the perfect form Odyssey of stone. Some shepherd dogs patted out the higher slopes, overlooking her, hummed to a partly remembered ditty strung by faraway bards. She'd sing about how above the sun also leads fluffy white clouds onto the west shores, grazing upon the rapid river pastures. Now she was silent, nigh covered in dark, crook half a hand grip, as her sheep and dogs slept together, sprawled midst the coiled roots. Tied to the herd's ankles was a rope held fast to her arm brace, so she wouldn't be amiss should a beast slink off with a yearling clasped within its jaws, cloaked in a moon veil, far from any flame. Force would awaken her soul from any dream darker and ending, back to the wide world where shimmering blades hunger for all flesh. She'd pursue those thieves as though one of them gnawed through her fingers, for such is each sheep worth to her lord sitting on faraway throne. When she was ordered to herd from adorned manor into wild lands, where the cobbled road wanes to thistle brush, dancing a wind's dance, Master had told her to guard the woolly treasure, eyes ever on them, and threatening to slice off a finger for each who eludes her. Be glad to hear my accord, that a portion is all you will lose then. Less merciful crowns carve the missing flesh from the servant's side. Those knuckles are now tied to your own flock's fate. Carry them well, for whatever creature takes them away shall drag you along too. Each word echoed through the hall, much longer in all her cautious moves, as she thought of what song she wouldn't play again should a sheep die. What facet of her soul is free of all wolves, come to eat its share? Are the shadows of dreams the sole land she's blind to her tight chains? 3. Heed the fires burning in mild-deemed homes, that's where it takes form. In the abode where some dozen house-slaves tended to his peace, master was oft given counsel from anxieties due to harsh years. Already his fields lay barren of crop, trampled in ox-prints, rampant disease burdened the cattle's breasts, plague among all sows. Friends were away, some sparse travellers visited with arid gaze, and he knew not whether his boy even breathed, soldier of far war. Cold are the nights through a constant abyss that whispered a winter much crueler than many minds may make, could amass with a mad dream. Strange visions of hoarfrost sweeping over his ancestral plains. This once thriving abode reared mighty heroes to adulthood. Soon but a mound slumped in the remote field, silence around all. Embers of old smothered out, for a cold hearth only beckons death. So the sower drew his scythe through the Lord's home, come to reap its crop. Though the wild plains where feral equines scout new horizons, wore the sun in ringlets, carrying gold every direction, dark storm clouds brood about the abode of Lord Awiganios. Those yoked under his sore plough feared being injured to lightning. Where the bejeweled cup sloshed, ever near were slaves following close, room to rumor through the orchards, barefoot or in traveller's garb, all to assure good drink never left that gilden reservoir. They carry fat bladders of meat afar from dark withering stores, whose keg adorn shadow-weaved robes that flap against wooden torches. Down the pair of slaves went to see if more sustenance sat there. One would attach the lid and stick an arm down, sounds echoing long, scraping a horn jug against the barrel's bottom halfway in its depth, as the other'd raise his fire over to bathe her in its light. Such frothy mead burned red with an oak as if it were honey still, rare booty of the forest, buried in the core of trees abandoned. Round had a bee cloud sounded about what now bubbled and brewed. For the horrid thief their spear awaited, a night yellow and black. But not even smiths could hew a lance which flays fumigation. And when an old slave crept beneath them with smouldering embers, cradled in a swaddle of leaves like ruby sinful in its hue, smoke dripped off the woman's thumbs, up to where ripe treasure waited. Thick patches of bees fell to the earth, not one would awaken, as she cut into the beeswax walls with a long copper halberd. Dark honey leaked from a loose comb which dropped into her baskets, buffed the dull edge to a shine sticky and sweet, soon to be licked off. She'd scour all the ragged boughs, eyes set upon the second sun. She'd carry out bushels of coveted comb back to her own hive, lest Luna would lay a silvery arm down onto her shoulders. Arg Yamara's shadow waxed through the high hills, dousing the sunset, with blue and eastward slopes, steep below peaks sharp as a razor, and above all, splitting up the sky, was a dark pillar of smoke, out the maw of manor roofs, whose hearth she attended to that morn. Tall that column stood as if bearing all those homes of immortals. Wind couldn't take it away to the mountains like some other clouds, for fire fans the soul of whatever fuel churns beneath each tongue, strives to remember the old woman who'd feed it tenderly with wood, and now looks toward into horizons, walks to the thin plume, as she had done for 5 previous masters, father of hearths. Such honey-filled hands once were thick in the glaze of ashen blood, when the burning roofs of her pillaged town hardened a young soul.